Hey guys, it's Rush. Battleofglory.com lets you earn real-life money with their World of Tanks tournaments. If you'd like the chance to earn prizes upwards of €250 by playing World of Tanks, sign up with the referral link down in the description. Alrighty, so for today's video, I'm going to be reviewing the AMX CDC. This is a tier 8 premium tank that you can get for about half the price of like an IS-6 or another tier 8 prem tank. So this is a really interesting vehicle because what you get when you purchase the CDC is a very mobile, lightly armored with a decent gun type medium tank. And in my opinion, it's really, really strong, but not for the average player because of the way it plays, right? You've got this big thing that really, gets penned by anything. So, there's my initial opinion on this tank. Basically, what you have is you've got 212 pen, you can see right there, 2442 DPM with my setup, 0.31 accuracy. So you've got this relatively decent gun. The pen is high, the accuracy is high, the DPM is decent, and that's going to allow the tier 8 to perform in a lot of games. And then what happens though is that the survivability of the tank, which it's got 30 armor. Good luck with that. It really punishes players who can't deal with that. Like if you make a mistake in this tank, you've made a mistake because you've lost 900 HP because an arty has penned you or something. So there's that. You've got the mobility, which is pretty decent. I mean, it's not light tank mobility, but you can go in a straight line very quickly. So the hard part is turning for this thing, but once you get turned around, it's relatively easy to deal with. So that's basically the gist of this vehicle. You've got 22% camo, 17% when you're moving. That's with my setup, of course, and 459 meters view range with food and BIA. So without food, it's a bit lower, but I've got optics, rammer, V-stab, food, BIA, and I think 3% skill for view range, so really that doesn't impact it. But the view range is decent on this tank. I would suggest you run it with optics, rammer, and V-stab. I used to run it with vents, and I think you can get away with it, but the problem is that low tier tanks have really high camo a lot of the time. So what I found is that when you're dealing with like certain tier 6 tanks, sometimes you won't spot them until you're right on top of them, and that has increased the value of optics significantly. So I think optics is good for this vehicle, but that's just my advice. You could always run vents, food, BIA, and then cruise skills to make up for that to increase your DPM, but I think optics is better in this case. So yeah, here's my crew. You can see I've got BIA all the way down, 6 cents camo, safe stowage. What will happen is you'll get tracked and ammo racked at the same time because a shell will go in through your drive wheel and then it'll continue penetrating into your tank and it'll hit your ammo rack as well. So I would suggest that you carry safe stowage, and it's also a really smart idea to carry a large repair kit because when the decision of repairing your tracks or your ammo rack is a really shitty one, and a large repair kit sort of mediates that. If you have a large repair kit, you don't need to make that decision. So I think it's justifiable on this vehicle. I mean, it is a prem tank, so make your own decision, but there you have it. That's my opinion. You can see I've got camo, snapshot, and smooth ride, I think. Yeah, so this thing doesn't have the greatest shooting on the move, and so I've chosen crew skills for this vehicle. Like, it's a 30B crew, but really I put it in this tank a lot. So I've used crew skills that work for both vehicles, and I think smooth ride and snapshot for this thing really does make sense because it's just not that great on shooting on the move. It's a French tank. It's like trying to shoot on the move with a bat shot. It doesn't work. So there's that. And then you can see my fourth skill, I've focused on view range. I've put repairs for the gunner because there's nothing else that I consider useful. Then I've got clutch braking because this thing takes forever to turn around, and I finished off camo on the loader. So that's the gist of my setup and what this tank is about. Why don't I show you some gameplay, and we'll take it from there. Alrighty, so for this game, this is the best fight I've ever had in the CDC, and normally I don't try to show these types of things specifically because I feel that a lot of good games are relatively lucky. Now, certainly there was luck involved, but I want to try to show you where the luck was, and hopefully that can sort of omit the luck. Like, I don't want to falsify my skill in areas where I just got lucky. So hopefully I can just sort of give an example of how you want to play this tank, and realistically, if you're going to have the best game you've ever played, there's going to be some luck elements to it, but hopefully I can highlight those and just make sure you don't confuse that with how to play this tank actually. So what you can see me doing is we're on the map Live Oaks. It's a standard game. Typically on Live Oaks, I don't look at the enemy team lineup very much because really it doesn't matter to me. I take the stance that you want to always come to B3 in a quick tank. It doesn't specifically need to be this house. It can be this one, but you want to only look at the arty situation normally. Like, if there's arty and you're here, you're going to get clicked. So it's sort of risky to play here, and you need to take that into account, especially in like a CDC. So you can see there's no arty, and I'm taking advantage of that. I'm doing that on purpose, and I'm just shooting at people. Now, a lot of times what will happen is once you get lit here, people will stop and they'll shoot at you. So you can see I moved over to here. It gives me some sort of cover. That KV4 would have hit me, I think, if I hadn't been using this cover. I take a bad shot at the M4 and you can M41, and you can see immediately this thing gets ammo racked. So I'm going to pause it here because this is the first stage of the game. We're a minute and a half into the game, and the question is, if you're going to go to this position on Live Oaks, where do you go? Like, when do you leave? What do you do from here? Now, my answer is the second. Holy shit. My answer is the second you see someone at A2, you're going to want to leave, because what that means is people will have started to cross this area. And obviously, like, if you have to run away and there's going to be someone here who can shoot at you, you need to make sure that nothing is going to be here shooting at you, and you need to make sure you're safe from these guys. So the second that WZ111 got spotted, I left, and you'll notice immediately after the IS-3 gets lit, he tried to snapshot at me. And that's something I want to point out, because if they get too far into the city and you're where I was, it's going to be committed. So there's a window to leave. If you stay too long, you'll find out really quickly. So that's my advice for this position. Now, I've decided to leave the city. This is how I play most of my tanks in the game. You'll notice I'm not looking anywhere with my gun or whatever. It's because I'm looking at the map. Now, what I see in the south is that they're going to win the south. Like, basic counting skills shows that they have like 6 tanks there, and we have 4, and really only 2 of them are fighting. You can see the Type 59 could be fighting. The Yag Tiger's the only one in a position to do damage. So we're going to lose the south. I can predict that reasonably. So in my mind, I'm thinking we're going to have to win the city, and I don't really see an opportunity to do that just yet because they have a WT at C6. I don't want to fight him, and you're going to see right here I bounce the Scorpion, and that's like, well, there's even more tanks over there now that I have to worry about. So I'm going to eventually play the city, and that's just because of how aggressive they are. When you're judging how to react to what you see on the map, you need to base it on timings a lot of the time, because obviously if they're going to get onto your cap circle, you need to win one flank before that happens. So I see where they are. They're being relatively aggressive. I don't want to be overly aggressive. This is an AMX CDC, you know, realistically, so you have to keep that in mind. So I am taking blind shots at where the Scorpion and the WT were. I don't know if any of these are hitting, but I don't see an opportunity, and this is something really important. If you want to get good at the AMX CDC, you can't force things. And by no means am I saying I'm a god at this tank, but it's one of the most basic skills is learning when to take an engagement. So you can see right now they're down a tank. I would say we have the advantage in the city. I'm going to come into the city. Now it's a 5v3. I just want to win this because I'm playing it off of what I see in the south. They've got 2 tanks who are pressing our only 2 tanks left on the south, and it's like, okay, well, let's rush this. So I see the WZ fired. I'm going to put a shot into him. Now, I don't know this guy's reload. What he does is trick me a bit. He looks at me and prepares to aim at me. So I'm like, well, you know, let's not take that risk. I see him look away, and so I put a shot into him. And by now I'm sure he's reloaded, but he's a 1-shot for the 703, and that's a really good situation to be in. So I'm not going to throw my hit points to this guy. I have in mind that my ammo rack is towards this guy. So if I took 500 HP in the ammo rack, you know, that could just be the end of me. It's important to know where your modules are so you don't expose them needlessly to the enemies. Now, we kill the WZ. It's now a 5v2. We're going to win this, like, regardless of what I do. So I just finished off the Types T69, and you can see we're up 3 tanks. But this is a really peculiar situation. I mean, maybe for low tiers it's realistic, but not often in high tiers. So this was a weekend, so a lot of low tier players play high tiers, but whatever. What I'm noticing is that they're pushing into our base. Now, I'm not worried about them capping out. You'll notice we've got like 3 tanks in the G2 hole. I just want to get to where the STRV is, because what can happen is if they get on cap, like, what are they going to do? They're in the middle of an open field if they decide to cap out. So we aren't pressured per se, but we do want to take advantage of this position that they've put themselves in. Now, I'm going to highlight something that, like a topic on winning. When you're winning, you need to make sure you've won one side. Now, you could say we've won the city, but in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, where's the Scorpion? And the Waffle has died. So I know the Scorpion's behind us. If I'm not lit, I can be very aggressive. Like, he's not going to shoot me if he can't see me. So you can see he gets lit. I'm going to take a shot. I think I get lit here or something, but I know he's there. And that's going to be a huge pain in the ass for us because we have to worry about a Scorpion with 500 alpha coming behind us. So this is really, really important. If you leave 1 or 2 tanks on a flank and you leave it, and your teammates aren't able to kill them or something, it's a huge pain in the ass because you have to deal with enemies from 2 directions. So try to make things easy for yourself when you play this game. You don't want to deal with multiple fronts at the same time. So you can see I am dealing with multiple fronts at the same time. That makes things really difficult for me. The IS-3 is committed to the Scorpion, so eventually I'm just going to sort of ignore him. I want to kill these low HP tanks because you'll notice that they're, threatening our Karn. So ideally we can just kill them as they cross the open field. I get lit, thank God there's no arty. And eventually, as I'm taking these shots, this is something I do a lot. It's a skill that I've developed. Is I don't look at people when I'm aiming. I try to look at the situation around me. So I notice the Scorpion G has killed the IS-3. Now, what does that mean? It means really there's a very high possibility that the Scorpion's going to come flank us. So I keep this in mind. You can see I don't do a lot of aiming because this is mostly because I'm just looking at my map. So I'm thinking, okay, where's the Yag Tiger? Where's the Scorpion? Where's the T-2065? And then I know where the other 4 tanks are. So in my mind, the Yag Tiger's full HP. For all I know, he was spotted outside of my radio range, but really he's full HP. The T-2065 to my he kills the Yag Tiger to my left, and this is like the situation that I'm in. I'm sort of really stressed out here because I could have a Scorpion behind me, there's a full HP Yag, and then the rest of their team are in like hull down scouting position. So I'm asking for help, kill the T-2065, and now I have to deal with this full HP heavy directly in front of me. So you can see, I know there's a tank to my side. I do see an easy kill. In my mind, I'm thinking I have to help my teammates. I was expecting that to kill the Centurion, but it didn't, so I'm going to finish him off. And this is going to be the lucky part in this replay. I would say everything from this point, for the most part, has been done on purpose, but you're going to see me make something that I consider to be extremely stupid, but I also did this intentionally. Like, I knew the consequences of my actions. So I see this T-2065. I'm taking the gamble that the Scorpion has got bored of shooting at nothing, and he's moved. You can see I'm not going to take a huge risk like I expect the Scorpion. That's why I backed up, right? Otherwise I would have kept shooting at the T-2065, but at the same time, like, I have to kill this guy. There's no way I can just have a prolonged fight with this guy when I don't want to give the Scorpion, who I think is moving, time to help this guy out. So I need to kill the T-2065 as quickly as I can, and I end up spending 1,000 HP to kill this guy. Now, that is something I expect. You'll notice I did get ammo racked. I was tracked and ammo racked at the same time, but I saved my repair kit because I knew, like, this tank gets ammo racked a lot. So I was prepared for that. That's something you should do too. Like, be in mind. This, like, just understand that this gets ammo racked a lot. So save your repair kits for that reason. There's the T-32 right there. I poke again, take another risk. That was probably a mistake. But you can see the Karn gets the kill, and that's really, really valuable. Now, what I want to point out is that my prediction is right. You can see I'm looking behind me. It's because I really, really expect the Scorpion to flank me. As a result, I'm watching the map. Every single time I reload, I look at the map for a good couple seconds because I'm like, where the hell is this guy? I don't know where their Yag is, I don't know where their Scorpion is, and I do know where 2 of their heavies are. So this is something you need to be aware of, where it takes practice and etc. But what you want to do is, if someone hasn't done anything for a really long time, especially a mobile tank like the Scorpion, you can expect the average player to try to do some sort of flank. And you see, the second I see the Scorpion on the map, I push. Now, this is a risky play, but I think it's a lot safer than going towards the Scorpion with double my hit points and he can one-shot me. I'm going to rely on this vehicle's camo here and the bad review range of the Karn and the T. They aren't bad, but they're just not good enough to spot me at this range. And I'm going to make a play that I think is really, really safe. Now, I'm going to make another mistake up here, and I'm going to point it out, but this play right here I think is really good, because what's happening here is, if I were to stay at E2, I would be in a crossfire. And so intuitively I know this, and I want to get out of there. So I take a bit of a risk, but we know that the Yag Tiger was on the rails based on you know, what's happening. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go look for an opportunity. Now, I was typing in chat. You can see my keyboard was in Russian, because that's what happens when you press Alt and Shift at the same time. But you can see I'm asking for the Yag Tiger's location because I'm making a really aggressive play. Now the Carnivore gets spotted. That sort of destroys my plan, but he's a huge threat, right? I don't want him spotting people for the Karn, so I'm going to focus him down. He's an easy kill, so I'm going to take advantage of that. Now, on the other hand, I don't expect to get lit because the Scorpion probably doesn't know that I'm here, right? Like, I haven't been lit. So I expect the Scorpion to push up to D1. I don't know how quickly he's going to do it, and this is the mistake I make. You can see I'm really indecisive. It's because I don't know what to do. Do I go fight the Yag Tiger and the T10, or do I fight the Scorpion? And this is the mistake I make. I decided to go after the Yag Tiger, who just got lit, and then within a couple seconds, the Scorpion's going to push into D1. Now, this is something you can expect from people. Like, you don't want to underestimate your opponents, but you also don't want to overestimate them. On that note, the Scorpion is logically going to push up to D1. Like, that's what you can expect because he had nothing to shoot at. So totally destroyed my team by leaving right here. Totally ruined my team. I let the Tiger 2 die, and that's entirely my fault. So you can see I'm going to try to kill the Scorpion, who's now out of position. I could have expected him to get out of position. I just didn't, so that's my fault. And what I'm doing here is I just want to spot him. I want to get rid of that guy. So again, we can deal with people on one front and hopefully give ourselves something, you know, map to work with. So you can see I'm pushing into these bushes. I've never been in a situation like this, so I'm just sort of playing it by ear, effectively. I'm just doing something that I think will work. I see these bushes are here. I load HE. You can see this is why I hate HE. 70 damage, and I've got another HE shell loaded. I should have had APCR for this Yag Tiger, but you're going to notice that, like, in my mind I'm thinking, why is it all red? It's HE, there's your answer. So 96 damage, and from this position you're going to see the effects of a sniping tank. So I've got APCR loaded here, but you're going to notice a lot of my shots are going to dip low. I've got food, I think I have vents, I'm out of optics in this game, but really I have really high accuracy while I'm playing this game, and it's still nowhere near perfect. You're going to see my shots do deviate from where I'm trying to put them. And this is only 375 meters, so I could get lit at this range. Now, I think that's relevant because it shows the like what you can realistically expect from a hyper accurate gun. You're going to miss shots. You don't want to be in a position where you have one shot to win the game in any tank, because RNG is, even with a Leopard 1's gun and food and vents and BIA, you're just not going to hit them. So what you can see me doing is I'm putting myself in a position to deal with the T10, who I expect to be pushing up. I don't know if I'm going to spot him. I also want to be able to spot the Yag Tiger. Now I know there's 3 minutes left. So logically speaking, I would expect them to want to get on cap right now. You know, that's what I would do, and that's what I would hope they would do, actually. Like, it makes sense to get on cap, maybe not with the Yag Tiger, but from their perspective, they have so much HP that it would really stress. I don't know what I would do if they had 2 on cap. So you can see they aren't getting on cap. I was able to take advantage of that. I see that the Yag Tiger wasn't getting on cap, and in my mind I was thinking, okay, well, the T10 slipped by. He's probably in the city. He's about to push me. So I'm leaving this position because I expect the T10 to be chasing me. And from this point in time, because I'm not lit, I'm predicting that they'll go back to the base because they'll want to reset. So that's my mindset right here. I've only got 2 minutes left. In my mind, I'd rather lose than win, simply because of the way, win rate. It's better to take, if you're going to draw, you might as well lose. Then someone wins at least, and if you give yourself the win, you might get lucky eventually. Like, a draw is the same as a loss. So that's my perspective here, but I don't want to needlessly throw it away. You're going to notice I'm going to go to a position that sets me up in case they get on cap. I'm going to go to J3, so this is just driving, no need to commentate over it, but I'm going to be looking for shots because I expect them to get on cap. So you can see I'm positioning my view range circle so I can spot all the way to the cap circle. Hopefully I can see them before they get there, and from here we're just going to sort of, find a good position to defend from. I don't use this back position very much, so again, I'm just sort of playing it by ear. So I go into this bush. I want to set myself up to effectively use my view range. You can see I immediately spot the Yag Tiger. Now this is interesting because I did predict correctly what he would be doing, but at the same time, like, accuracy is going to screw me over right here. If this gun was as accurate, like a sniping tank, I should have been able to hit his lower plate reliably, and like, this is the type of position you don't want to be in. You don't want to be in a position where there's 45 seconds left. You have to hit a ton of shots. and if you miss one, you're screwed, because I know, like, I don't know where the T10 is. In my mind, I'm like, okay, well, he's faster than the Yag Tiger. Where could he be? So I'm checking my map after every shot. I notice the Yag Tiger shot, and there's going to be a couple risks here that I take because I expect, who cares if I lose? There's only 30 seconds left. So I look for a shot right here. I'm just hoping to, like, high roll him or something. I missed. That was badly aimed. And now I have to deal with this, like, 700 HP T10 who's coming behind me. So, I go to shoot at him. But at this point in time, there's, like, 12 seconds left. So impossible for me to win unless I got 2 ammo racks in a row. You can see I'm just sort of pushing up. I don't actually realize the time's running out, but I want to kill this guy before the Yag Tiger gets behind me, and suddenly the clock runs out. So, that's the game. I think it was pretty self-explanatory. There's the positions I used at the beginning of the game, and then once you get to the end of the game, you sort of have to play it by ear, because when there's 5 tanks left on such a big map, there's a lot of things that won't happen consistently, so it's hard to learn. So it's a bit improvisation. So yeah, let's just go look at another replay. We'll go look at this tank on Swamp, hopefully give you another picture of what this tank is like when it's middle tier. Alrighty, so for this game, it was 160,000 credits, 6,000 experience, probably with the time, whatever. Like, I don't know how I got all the way up to 6,000, but Mastery Badge, High Caliber, Top Gun, 6,400 damage, 6 kills. It was a draw. Like, I would have had to have a 7k damage game to have won it, and I don't think there was enough time for me to have done it. I don't know. I mean, could be being too hard on myself, but there you have it. 6,400 damage, 6 kills, 1,200 base gave me a Mastery Badge. In the end, that would have been quite a significant profit if I hadn't spent 127,000 credits on gold. That's actually hilarious, but there you have it. I nearly lost credits on that one, profited 25k, but this thing has a lot of potential. Maybe when you're carrying, you're not going to make a lot of credits. The credits come from the Raffle Stomp wins when you're top tier, and that way you don't have to shoot gold and, like, bounce gold off people. But that's just my opinion. So on to the next, I guess. So for this game, we're on the map Swamp. Now, a lot of people ask me to show how I play on the northern part of Swamp, so I thought even though this is a loss, it could be very beneficial to people who watch. So what you can see me doing is, on Swamp, there's not a lot you can do, in the sense that there's only one flank you can viably expect to win. So I'm going to, like, what you see happening is we've got 5 heavies, they're going south, that's typically where heavies go, and so immediately I know that our team is going to be down 5 heavies in the near future, because what they do when they try to push up H2 is they put themselves at the mercy of the enemy's 4 TDs, and, like, that's going to work well, right? So what I'm doing is I'm playing the north. I see that we're going to lose 33% of our team. At this point in time, I'm not expecting to win. Now, this should not... I'm going to talk about the mindset when you play this game. You don't want to let this affect how you play, because you're going to lose games, right? Even players who 3-mark tier 10s or whatever your measurement for calculating how good they are, there's some games you just can't win, especially when you're solo. So don't let it frustrate how you play. So what you can see me doing is I'm like, okay, we're going to lose this. There's a Karn in front of me, though. I can shoot that Karn. We're a minute and a half into the game. I could be wrong, but really, we're probably not going to win. So you can see I shoot the Karn, and I get clicked, and so I take advantage of this situation. Like, I don't have to worry about getting clicked again. I just get safe, and I look at the map. So as I'm analyzing the situation, I see we've lost a T-32. We're about to lose a KV-5, a T-34, and a Conqueror. You can see the T-34 just went to the Foch. The Conqueror's next. He's fighting a 5v1. So immediately in my head, I'm like, okay, we're down a ton of tanks. How can I take advantage of this? Is there anything to take advantage of? And the answer is there's nothing. Like, I don't see anything that I could shoot at right now. Maybe the T-50-41, but there's no big play that I can use to get me more than, like, 500 damage. So you're going to see eventually I get bored. I go to do something that I consider to be low risk. I'm looking for shots on people, but there's no perfect answer. Just, like, I don't see one. So what's going to happen is I'm going to wait. Eventually I look at the map and I say, oh, well, they're just going to push down the 2 line. Like, I should have realized this sooner, but I'm going to position myself to deal with that. So I've got shots in this T-34-3, and at this point in time, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to have to start moving to deal with the 1-2 line. It's going to happen eventually. So relatively quickly, once I decide, okay, these guys, I can't help them much anymore, I move back to base, and that's because I want to punish the enemy as they push down the 1 line. You can see there's a lot of open ground that the enemy needs to cover as they push down, and that's something I can take advantage of. So even though they have cover, if they play it badly, it's very easy just to kill them. So you're going to see that's what I'm going to do. Now, while I'm going here, I notice that we only have a T95 defending that flank. So typically what will happen on this map, and you can just watch me shoot people, is that people will love to go up the E4 ramp. Now I know that the T95 is looking at D3, so in my mind I'm thinking he's susceptible to getting flanked by someone. So I'm putting myself closer to that guy. You can see the defender's going to try to do what I feared for the T95. I'm putting myself in a position to deal with that, and I notice it immediately because I see this T95. He's in a strong position. What are tier 8 tanks going to do to him? But at the same time, he's open to getting flanked, and that's what happens. So I'm going to help this guy. I need him to do well if we want to win this game, just because he's in such a strong position and such a strong tank. So I took myself away from the fight that I considered to be, relatively important and went to help him out. And that's a calculated play. So, some people might consider that malevolent or greedy or whatever, but there you have it. I helped a guy out because I wanted to win. So what you can see me doing is, okay, the T95's safe. I can't micromanage him. He just dives on the Foch. There's nothing I can do about that. So I look for other shots. Now I don't see myself being able to really help the T95, but then I look over and I'm like, he might need a help. So I see the UDAs, etc., they're going to need a hand. Notice the defender, and I'm moving because I want to deal with this defender while the UDAs is alive, because obviously a 2v1 is better than a 1v1 when it comes to dealing with the defender. So what you can see me doing is I'm flanking this guy. I don't expect anyone to be to my left, so I'm doing this relatively safely. I think everyone is lit. At the time I didn't have time to count, but these are the things that you want to go through your mind when you're playing this game. So you can see we're working on this defender. I'm not too worried about people to my left. It's just this defender and we need to kill him before the T10 and the Foch get into the fight. And so, here I am with another STRV, and we're going to try to deal with this defender. So I see what the STRV's doing. He wants to flank the defender. Puts me in a bit of a rough position, but the defender shoots, so I'm just going to go after him. I reload faster than he does, so, from this perspective, I just wanted to get a shot into him. The STRV's chasing him, the defender's YOLOing me, so I'm going to take a hit here, bounce a shot, and this is something I want to talk about. So this is a mistake that a lot of people will make, is they will back themselves up to a wall when they're in a medium tank, and I will notice that I'm in the mistake. Like, I make this mistake and I get myself out of it really, really quickly. So what can happen is the heavy tank will just drive in front of you, and if he dies, you're stuck, or he'll prevent you from leaving if he just blocks your tank when you're in this position. So what I do is he backs up, that gives me an opening, immediately I try to leave, and who cares if I take a hit for this, as long as I'm not going to die at the hands of the defender, I'm happy. So you can see the STRV rushes in to help me. He pushes up. Now, in my experience, TDs are really good at blocking your shot because of the way they behave. So I don't want to corner fight with this TD. What I do is I decide to flank. Now, this might be a decision for the worse, but I didn't want to risk shooting at the STRV or have to shoot over him. That's really, really frustrating. So I drive around, not because I want to flank him, but because I don't want to shoot over the STRV. And the STRV ends up dying. I low roll on that guy. And from here, it's just dealing with the defender, and now it's a 2v5. So it's going to turn into a 2v4. We're going to kill that guy, and then we have to turn around. I get hit by the T-34-3. The T-95 kills the Foch. Wait, did he? Yeah, he did. Okay, so it's a 2v4 now. And, all we have to do is deal with a couple tier 8s, really, like tanks with low pen. So what I'm doing is I'm putting myself into this position. I've run over to here in videos before. It's relatively easy to use, especially if you're in a Russian medium. So from this position, it's a 4v2. We could win it. As long as the T-95 doesn't die, I really think it's possible for us to win, especially when they've got, tanks that are effectively 2 shots for the T-95. So I say good luck in chat. Hopefully the T-95 is able to nail this Pershing, and you're going to notice something happens. The Pershing kills the T-95, and I don't know how that happened. I didn't expect it, and it's at this point in time where I've got no armor, no HP, and there's 4 tanks, or, eventually I'm going to have to fight 4 tanks. There's 2 of them pushing me. The game is over by now, so I'm just looking for shots. I just want to get as much damage as I can. I end up shooting underneath the T-34-3 somehow, and that is just the way this gun works. You're going to miss some of your shots. You just can't rely. You have to put as many shots out as you can, because you're going to get unlucky sometimes. So you can see the T-34-3 kills me, and that's the game. Alrighty, so as you can see, that was a defeat. Obviously, 116,000 credits, 2,745 XP, 4,444 damage, 2 kills, 871 base. The T-95 and I did 9,000 damage combined, but clearly that wasn't nearly enough for us to win that game. So it happens to everyone. You can see I ended up profiting 74,000 credits, lost 34k on gold ammo and whatever. So that's the result. I mean, still made a decent profit, all things considered. So yeah. So I think the question I should try to answer, just to simplify it for everyone, is, do I think the AMX CDC is worth buying? Now, I said this in the beginning of the video, I believe, but basically what I'd say about this tank is such that it's a good buy in the sense that it's cheap, right? Like if you look at its price, I don't know how to see it. It's relatively similar to the M4A1 Rev. So if you're going to get this tank, understand that it's cheap. So it's going to be difficult to play. It's not unbalanced. It's not shit. But by no means is it recommended. Like, I would never recommend it to someone who starts the game, because what they'll find is they will push up, they'll get shot once, twice, 3 times, and they'll lose all their HP. And that's just how this vehicle plays. So I would maybe suggest it to players with above a 55% win rate or something to that effect. If you're near, you can try it out, but by no means is it a Defender 252 where the average player gains huge percents of win rates, and then the Unicum actually loses win rates with the Defender. But it's by no means is it a Defender where the worse you are, the better you do in it. It's probably the opposite. There's probably a very good players probably do really, really well in the AMX CDC, and then in quotation bad players probably do horribly in this tank because it just punishes so much mistakes, but it also has potential. So I would say get it if you consider yourself a good player. Don't get it if you're trying to if you're like trying to learn how to play the game. This would be a good tank potentially, because it will show you your mistakes. You will learn where you screw up. How do you know if you screw up? Well, you just took 500 HP, of damage. So it's one of those tanks that really punishes mistakes. So if you're trying to get better, by all means, this is a cheap tank that will let you probably do that. But on the other hand, if you're trying to grind credits without thinking, this is not the tank for you, unless you're purple, in which case, like I said, it's more likely that you're going to get more out of this tank than someone like who has a 45% win rate. So that's just my advice. I don't have statistics to back up my CDC claims, but in regards to performance per player, but I'm just guessing. So take it for what it's worth. And yeah, I hope this video is helpful. If you want to see more, be sure to hit the like and the subscribe button, and I hope to see you around. Later, guys. Bye-bye.